Welcome back. A group of new volunteers are getting trained on how to detect red tide. It comes after red tide was briefly detected at the island 2 weeks ago, and it since went away. Channel 5's Christian Von Pricing reports.
Today, the South Padre Island Coastal Studies Lab, an effort to make sure people are trained to help with the next red tide bloom.
We actually show them how to take a sample.
A group of volunteers from all over the valley here to train on water sampling, how to read those samples. The volunteer group started in the early 90s with a strong bloom.
We couldn't keep up.
If red tide emerges again, the trained staff with Texas Parks and Wildlife will be assessing the levels, but that staff is limited. Tony Reisinger with Texas Sea Grant says it's important to test as many locations as frequently as possible.
And they take the burden off of Texas Parks and Wildlife.
A full-on red tide bloom like the one in 2018 is caused by the breakdown of tiny algae which emit a toxin into the air. Someone in the area can feel a burning sensation as they breathe. This training comes after the Coastal Studies Lab found moderate concentrations of red tide for a brief time 2 weeks ago, but it's since disappeared.
Our area is clean. We haven't picked up any cells since September 20th. We did have a report of a slight aerosol on the 22nd.
That aerosol was detected at the south end of the island by a red tide ranger and hasn't been detected since. Reisinger says the red tide can be patchy and hard to locate. They now have support from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which uses satellites to monitor blooms.
They can actually zoom in on where the bloom is, and it produces a lot of chlorophyll, so it has different colors for different strengths of the bloom.
Reisinger says if the red tide emerges again, people with asthma will need to avoid it, and a face mask can help from breathing it in. It can also be especially harmful to dogs and animals. Now this new group of volunteers is ready.
They'll know what to do if and when we have a bloom.
To continue monitoring, to look out for any future red tide. Christian Von Pricing, Channel 5 News this weekend.